Hi there, welcome. I'm Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and today I'm going to do a tiny little tutorial here to show you how I'm going to seam together these pieces of my sailing sweater. Now, in the instructions for the sailing sweater, now that I've finished all these pieces, I've finished blocking them, they're all ready to go. Now the next step is to seam them together using what the designer is calling mattress stitch. So mattress stitch is typically a kind of seaming technique that you would use to put two stockinette pieces together. And the two stockinette pieces, when you finally join them together using mattress stitch, it looks perfectly invisible. And so you're doing that by picking up the bars in between the columns of knit stitches. Now, what we're doing here with this particular piece is, this is garter stitch. We're going to be seaming together garter stitch edges. And so garter stitch obviously looks very different from stockinette. And so the mattress stitch, or the seaming technique that we're going to use, is going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to show you how we go through that entire process. Okay, so to begin, what the designer wants us to do is she wants us to lay these two pieces back to back, and she wants us to have them with the pattern running in the same direction. So there's like these little leaf shapes to it, and so I'm just going to make sure that they are in the same direction as I put them together. And now she suggested that we could use some clips to clip them together. I do have some clips, but they're over there. Okay, and so the next thing that we have to do is we are going to determine which side is going to be the top, or like the shoulder edge, and which is going to be the bottom edge. And I think either way, I'm just trying to see which edges look a little bit nicer. But I mean, we could make that one the bottom, this one could be the top, I guess. And what she's suggesting with the top is that we want to have a 12-inch opening. So 6 inches from the center and 6 inches from the center, and that's where we're going to start to sew our seams, from the top of the shoulders down. And then at the bottom edge, what she wants to do is she's going to leave a larger opening. So rather than doing 6 inches from the middle and starting here, she wants to start another 4 inches down the line. And so this seam, this bottom side of the sleeve, is going to be shorter than the other side. So we'll do that. So let's do the shoulder seams first. So this is what it's going to look like once it's all finished. And so I'll take this shoulder edge first, and I'm going to put them together side by side so you can see how the stitches line up. Okay, so you can see here, these are the two edges that I am going to seam together. So you can see these are the garter stitch edges that we're going to align and we're going to sew together. We're going to connect each one of these horizontal bar lines together as we sew. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about with these stitches and what we're going to connect together. Okay, so looking at my fabric here, you'll see that I'm actually working with hand-dyed yarns. And so hand-dyed yarns, in order to get the best and most smooth transition between the two colors, what I'm doing is I've actually alternated skeins. I've alternated between balls of yarn. And so I would basically knit across and back with one yarn, and then I would knit across and back with another ball of yarn. And so each time dropping one yarn and picking up the rest. So when I do that, it forms this edge here where these yarns are being carried up the side, and it forms kind of like a long, sloopy sort of piece of yarn here. And so what I don't want to do is to connect that sloopy bit of yarn with another sloopy bit of yarn, because that's going to produce a really sloppy effect. And you can already see, you know, it's pulling away from the fabric. It's not structurally sound, and that's going to cause a bit of a problem. So what we want to do here is actually go into the stitches that are being formed into this bar of garter stitch. Sort of the bars, these rows that are being formed by the garter stitch. That's what we want to go into. So now, looking more at the anatomy of your garter stitch row, you're going to see that there are two kinds of bumps. So along here you can see there's a bump that's going underneath, that's kind of like a U-shaped bump, and then there's another upside down U-shaped bump, and then there's a U, and then an upside down U, and a U, and an upside down U. And so what we want to do is, on each side, we want to pick up the ones that look like U's, and then we'll go to the other side and we'll pick up the ones that look like upside down U's. Some people will call these sort of smiles. The U's look like smiles, and the upside down U's look like frowns. So you kind of go from a smile to a frown to a smile to a frown and back and forth along this edge. So that is what we're going to do, and that should tie together these two rows very nicely and sort of bypass this sloopy carried up yarn up the edge. We're just going to bypass that and then kind of fold it into the middle so that it's gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some new yarn, and I'm going to measure my yarn to be about twice as long as that, so I have something to work with. So as I put my yarn into the fabric, I'm not going to tie any knots or anything like that at the end of this. I'm just going to connect the two of them, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail. And then that tail, at the end of the day, I can weave in and secure. But that way I don't have any knots. I'm not knotting any of my knitting together. Okay, so starting at the bottom here, I'm going to find this row and just connect them together. So this one looks like this one is a smile, and I'm going to go to the other side and look for the frown, and I'm going to connect those together. And I'm just going to leave a tail of about 3-4 inches, something like that. Okay, so I've gone from this side, which was the smile side, and this side will be the frown side. So I'm going to come back to here, and I'm going to look for another smile, and come back to this side, and pick up underneath another frown. Coming back to this side, picking up a smile, and picking up a frown. Okay, and I'm going to show you up close. So you can already see that this is looking quite seamless already. So here I'm picking up a smile. There's my smile stitch. And then I'm going to pick up a frown on the other side. And a smile. And a frown. Smile. And a frown. And so I'm not tugging or anything like that. I'm not gathering these stitches or anything like that together. I'm just making it nice and even, trying to keep the fabric as it is. So you can see that the pieces are being seamed together here, and they look already pretty seamless here. So I'm just going to keep going along, and I'm basically picking up smiles and frowns, or basically U-shapes and upside down U-shapes, looking at that garter row and seeing where to pick up those stitches. And they're coming together really nicely. They're bypassing those sort of sloopy carried up yarn bits, and it's making sort of a very nice seam here. Okay, I'm just going to quickly show you what it looks like from the outside. This is the seam from the outside, or from the right side. And so it's looking really nice and pretty invisible. I mean, you can see that there's two pieces joined together, but there's no gaping line or anything like that. It's pretty smooth, but you can see from the inside, I'm gonna flip it around to the inside, and there's that big seam. So these are all those edges that were carried up, that yarn that was carried up the side, and that's been mushed together and it's being hidden. This is from the outside, this is from the outside, and that's what it looks like on the inside. So I'm just gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna finish off all these sides, and then I have to do some picking up and then knitting some more sleeves, and then this sweater is basically done. Oh, I'm gonna weave in the ends as well. I'll remember to do that. So that is it for today's little tiny tutorial. If this was helpful, please do hit the like button. Let us know if there's any other tutorials that you'd like us to make. Maybe next time we'll do a mattress stitch with stockinette. Yeah, so let us know if you like this video, and if you want to see more, you can subscribe, and we come here every Friday with new videos about knitting, spinning, weaving, and dyeing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.